Hello friends, hope everyone is doing great. So today we will talk about the next subject of geometry, which is quadrilaterals. So before we move into the geometry, if you're visiting the channel for the first time and if you're liking the content and the videos which I'm uploading, please do subscribe the channel, because in future I'll be uploading some of this basic concepts of videos, and along with that some questions and solutions of that questions which are appeared in the previous examinations. So to keep updated with that kind of content, I do recommend to subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. So now we'll move to the geometry. So geometry is one of the important topics which is asked in multiple competitive exams like MBA CET, CDS, SSC CGL, GRE, CAT and Bank PO exams. So when you see geometry for the first time, you see a lot of diagrams, very long questions, like a lot of square roots, then units like centimeters and meters. So you get scared of the topic first. But if you start like getting into the basic concepts and if you start solving the questions, right, then there is no easier topic than geometry. So what I would recommend is first you clear your basic concepts of the major topics, and then you do practice a lot of questions which are appeared in previous examinations or from some of, you can search that on internet as well, some of the questions which are related to geometry and which can be asked in competitive exams. So if you do practice with such kind of questions, you would be able to have upper hand compared to other students, and you will get extra credits here. So let's move to the quadrilaterals. So what exactly is the quadrilateral? So quadrilateral is defined from Latin words, two words, quadri and latus. So quadri means four, latus means sides. So quadrilateral is a 2D shape which has four sides, four angles and four vertices. So if you see here, I have drawn one quadrilateral for reference here. It has four sides, four angles and these four vertices A, B, C and D. So there is very important property of quadrilateral. The sum of its angles, internal angles I can say, A, B, C and D, it is always 360 degree. So this angle A, angle B, angle C and angle D, sum of this angle is always 360 degree. This is a very important property of an quadrilateral, and we'll see that in detail as well later. There is one more term with respect to quadrilateral, which is the diagonal. So I have done another quadrilateral here, PQSR. So if I consider two vertices, opposite vertices P and S, and if I draw a line which is joining PS, this is one of my lines here. So this line segment joining opposite vertices of quadrilateral, we call that as a diagonal. We see another set of opposite vertices here, R and Q, correct? So if I join these 2 points R and Q, I'll get another line segment. So we have two diagonals here. Every quadrilateral has two diagonals always. So now we have seen some of the basic concepts here. Now we'll move to different types of quadrilateral. So basically we have 5 major types of quadrilateral. First one is rectangle, second one is square, third is parallelogram, fourth is rhombus and trapezium. So first we'll start with rectangle. So rectangle has 3 major properties. It is a type of quadrilateral which has all the angles 90 degrees. Second property of rectangle is opposite sides are equal and parallel. The third property tells us the diagonals of rectangle are equal and they bisect each other. So I'll just draw a rectangle here for reference. Rectangle ABCD, I'll name it, with the 4 vertices A, B, C and D. So what the first property tells us? It tells us that all the angles are 90 degrees. So angle A, angle D, angle B and angle C should be 90 degrees. So I'll just draw a right angle here. What second property tells us? Second property tells us that opposite sides are equal and they're parallel. So all the angles are 90 degrees, we can see here. So the sides AB, CD should be parallel. Sides AD and BC should be parallel and equal. So according to second property, I can write here AB is equal to CD and AD is equal to BC, correct? So let's move to third property. Third property tells us diagonals are equal and they bisect each other. So I'll just draw diagonals of this rectangle, diagonal AC and diagonal BD. They're bisecting. Let's say I'll note this as a point E. So in this case, I can say the diagonals are equal and they bisect each other, correct? So the length of this AE and EC should be equal. Length of ED and length of EB should be equal. So according to third property, what I can say, the diagonals are same. So diagonal AC here should be equal to BD, and as they bisect each other, I can say AE is equal to EC, and as for the second diagonal, it should be DE is equal to EB. So these are the three major properties of rectangle. Now we'll move to next type of quadrilateral, which is square. So now let's look at the second type of quadrilateral, which is square. So what is square exactly? So square has these three primary properties. First one is all angles are 90 degrees. The second property tells us all the sides of square are equal and opposite sides are parallel to each other. The third property tells us the diagonals of the square are equal and they bisect each other perpendicularly. So I'll just draw a square for reference here. I'll just name it ABCD equal to vertices ABCD. So what the first property tells us? It tells us that all the angles are 90 degrees, correct? So I'll just draw each of the angle is right angle, correct? Second property tells us all the sides are equal and the opposite sides are parallel. So here all the sides are equal, right? So AB, which is one of my sides, BC is the second side, is equal to CD is equal to AD. This indicates all the sides of square are equal. The third property tells us the diagonals are equal and bisect each other. So I'll just draw two diagonals here, diagonal AC and diagonal BD, correct? So what third property tells us? They are equal and they bisect each other. So this length, if I draw point E here, so this AE should be equal to EC, DE should be equal to EB, and they bisect each other perpendicularly. So the angle formed here while it bisects, it is 90 degrees. So I'll just first note it is the angles here. Angle BEC is equal to angle CED is equal to angle DEA is equal to angle AEB, and all of these angles are 90 degrees, correct? And as they are equal, I can mention that as well. So diagonal AC should be equal to diagonal BD, and as they are bisecting each other, here the length of this AE should be equal to length of EC. Same goes with the second diagonal. Length of DE should be equal to EB. So these are the three properties of square, and square is one of the most important quadrilaterals, and most of the questions which are asked in competitive exams, they are from square. So now we'll move to next quadrilateral, which is parallelogram. So now we'll look at the next type of quadrilateral, which is parallelogram. So there are very important four properties of parallelogram. I'll just draw a quadrilateral here, which indicates a parallelogram ABCD. I'll name it according to vertices ABCD, and I'll try to explain these properties for this parallelogram. So opposite angles are equal. So we can see here angle made here and angle made here at point A and C. These are opposite vertices, right? A and C. So these are called opposite angles. So opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. So I'll just note it here. First angle, angle DAB is equal to angle DCB. This is the first pair of opposite angles. We have another pair here. Angle ADC is equal to angle ABC. This is our first property, that opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. What the second property tells us? Second property tells us that opposite sides are equal and parallel. So the sides AB and DC should be parallel. Side AD and BC should be parallel and equal. Correct? So I'll just note it here. AB is equal to CD and AD is equal to BC. So this is my second property, correct? Now let's move to third property. What it tells us, diagonals bisect each other. So I'll just draw two diagonals here, diagonal AC and diagonal BD. And E is the intersection point, correct? So I'll just note it here, AE should be equal to EC and DE should be equal to EB. They have mentioned that diagonals bisect each other, correct? But they are not perpendicular and they're not equal. This is very important differentiation point between the square, parallelogram and rectangle. If we see here, it only bisects each other. So I can put it here, AE should be equal to EC, and same goes with other pair, DE should be equal to EB. This is my third property. The fourth property tells us sum of two adjacent angles is 180 degree. Now what is the adjacent angles exactly? If you see here, vertex A and vertex D, these two are adjacent vertices, correct? So angles made here at adjacent vertices, we call them adjacent angles. So here angle BAD and angle ADC are adjacent angles, and sum of these angles in parallelogram is always 180 degrees. So I'll just draw it here, angle BAD plus angle ADC, it should be 180 degrees. And same goes with another pair of adjacent angle, this angle and this angle, correct? So angle ABC plus angle BCD should be 180 degrees. This is my fourth property. So these are four properties of parallelogram. Now we'll move to the next quadrilateral, which is rhombus. So rhombus has four major important properties. The first property tells us opposite angles are equal. Second property tells us all sides are equal and opposite sides are parallel. Third property tells us the diagonals bisect each other perpendicularly, and the fourth property tells us sum of adjacent angles is 180 degree. So I'll just quickly draw a rhombus here for reference. I'll just name it rhombus ABCD. So according to first property, opposite angles are equal, right? Here I have A and C are opposite vertices, and B and D is another set of opposite vertices. So this angle and this angle should be equal, this angle and this angle should be equal, correct? So I'll just note it here, angle DAB is equal to angle DCB, angle ADC is equal to angle CBA. This is my first property, correct? Now let's look at the second property. All sides are equal and opposite sides are parallel. So this sides of rhombus, all of them are equal, correct? So I can just note it here, AB side is equal to BC side is equal to CD side is equal to AD side. All of them are equal. So this is my second property. What third property tells us is the diagonals of this rhombus, they intersect or bisect each other perpendicularly. So I'll just draw two diagonals here, diagonal AC and diagonal BD. So the angle made here is 90 degrees and they are bisecting each other, correct? So this length should be equal. There is a very important differentiation between rhombus and square. In rhombus, the diagonals bisect each other perpendicularly, but they are not equal. While in the square, the diagonals bisect each other perpendicularly and the diagonals are equal. This is a very important differentiation of diagonals between rhombus and square. So I'll just note the third property here. Let's start with the angle. Angle AEB is equal to angle BEC is equal to angle CED is equal to angle DEA. All of them are 90 degrees, correct? And they're bisecting each other, correct? So I'll just note it here, AE should be equal to EC and EB should be equal to ED. So this is my third property. What fourth property tells us? Sum of adjacent angles is 180 degrees. So A and D I'll just consider here. A and D are my adjacent vertices. So sum of this angle should be 180 degrees, correct? I'll note it here, angle BAD plus angle ADC is equal to 180 degrees. Same goes with other set of adjacent angles. Angle ABC plus angle BCD is equal to 180 degrees. This is my fourth property. So these are very important fourth properties of rhombus. Now we'll move to another type of quadrilateral, which is trapezium. So trapezium is one of the most important quadrilaterals, and it has only one property, that only one set of opposite sides is a parallel. So I'll just draw one quadrilateral, which is trapezium. So this is my trapezium ABCD. Correct? And what the property tells us, one set of sides is parallel. So this AB and CD are parallel. That's it. That is the only property of of trapezium. We don't have any property with respect to other sides, no property with respect to diagonals. They neither bisect each other or they don't have any right angle while intersecting each other. So this is the only property, that one set of sides of a trapezium is parallel. Now we will just quickly check the summary of all the properties which we have seen for quadrilaterals.